Hey everyone, it's Linton here, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about scar treatment. I've got Mark here, and he's got a nice little scar right on his left hind quarter. And there's just a couple of easy things that you can do when you've got a scar. The reason why we might want to work on scars is because they can impede the vascularity. They can also have an impact on both the muscle and fascia, especially here we see this is down the semitendinous muscle in the hamstring. This might change his ability to actually stretch his leg through and forward. So we really want to make sure that they're nice and open, that they're flowing, and that we've realigned the fibers of that scar tissue so that he can move as freely as possible. This kind of scar, because that semitendinous is coming up and attaching onto the pelvis, this kind of scar could actually have an impact over the pelvic region and the mobility of the pelvis as well. So if we're working on scars, the first thing to do, I like to come over and just get to know that area, make sure that scar isn't too activated, shall we call it, because this is an area that he might have some different ideas about, and especially if it's painful or emotional. So if the scar came from an emotional event, you might have some charge or some reactivity around it. As always, keeping safety first. I always stand to the side of the horse, not right behind, and make sure that I can move away easily if I need to. As I come over the scar, I'm checking into how everything mobilizes. So I'm just sort of bringing my fingers over that scar, and I'm just feeling out if there's areas where it gets a little bit more sticky that need a little bit more movement. So I just do a nice little tour around of the scar and just do things move? Maybe they don't. Where might be my priority? I always want to go to the place where there's the least mobility. So for Mark in here, it's this area on the scar. So right in here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the scar, and I'm actually going to start to work with this area. What I might do is actually take this area into a little bit of its lesion. So if it doesn't want to go this way, I'm going to take it that way with my fingers. You can see I'm going to open it up a little bit. So I'm going to draw my fingers apart a little bit. I'm going to go into a little bit of a side bend there, and I'm going to hang out. I've got some nice background noise happening right now. Good. And then I'm just going to let that release. I'm going to keep doing that all the way along some of the least mobile parts of the scar, pulling it apart, finding the place that it doesn't like to go, hanging out there. He's getting a little bit of a release here. He's liking that. Good, that already feels a little bit better. So we're gonna come over it again. I'm like, oh, that feels more loose. Things are more mobile. Coming up to this part of the scar now, I'm going to do the same thing, going into the places it doesn't want to go, stretching it apart a little side bend. You see I kind of take my fingers this way in the scar, and then just hold until I feel a release. Good boy, Mark. He's like, oh, I'm feeling some things. And then I come over again, just that friction over the scar, feeling if things have moved, if there's any areas that are still wanting a little attention. So up here now, so I'm doing the same thing. It doesn't like to go this way. It doesn't like to open. So I'm going to take it there, hold it as much as he is allowing. There, good boy. Noticing that I'm keeping an eye on his ears, keeping an eye on his tail. There's a release. Very nice. I got more mobility in that scar. Things are a little bit more flexible. I'm really liking the feel of that now. You may even notice for the scars that you're working on that they might reduce a little bit. So some areas that are a little bit more bumpy might come down a little bit, which is always a nice little side effect. And always remember, don't do this on acute scars. You need them to be fully healed. This is quite an old scar. Yeah, so I would recommend a couple of months before you really start doing intensive scar work, at least. Although you can do some less intensive, gentler work earlier on, this kind of deeper work is best to leave for a little while. And I also find with Mark, I want to Just make sure there's no other adhesions that have come up around this scar. Good boy. Nice, that feels better. More mobile. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for helping. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again soon.